Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 6 of EOTT with me, Jimmy James. I have a treat for you this morning, guys. Dr. Wong has been kind enough to grace us with his presence, and we're going to have a chat about a few interesting subjects. Good morning, Dr. Wong. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Thank you very much for coming on to chat with me, brother. Dr. Wong and I became acquainted a few months ago over a little discourse on, I think it was one of Anthony Pica's comments. We were chatting about DMTX, which is another field altogether, but essentially these guys are looking to kind of use the kind of anesthesiologist approach and DMT to induce extended states. So yeah, we got into a bit of discourse over that, which was kind of interesting. And since then, we've discussed many different fields, many interesting subjects. So very much appreciate some of the things you've got me onto, Dr. Wong. You're a very interesting character. So yes, again, thank you for coming on to chat with me. And just tell us a little bit about yourself, if you'd be so kind.
Yes. So I have a formal training in medicine, anaesthetics, and intensive care. I've been doing intensive care for about 11 years now in a private facility. And over that duration, I tend to look after what you call hypoxic brain injury patients, whereby they are not fully functioning, and maybe with some therapy they could get better. And what really interested me recently was there was a woman from the UAE. She was in a coma for 17 years. Ooh, and somehow in Germany she woke up fully functioning and go, all right, what are they doing differently there?
Jeez, that's a very interesting one. 17 years.
Yes.
Had her body kind of wasted away with muscle atrophy and whatnot?
Yes, there probably will be some of that. We call that some of intensive care myopathy, and so they'll be generally quite weak. But it seemed that the neurosurgeons and the multidisciplinary team in Germany, they weren't doing anything too different than what we would do in our facilities.
Okay.
But what the neurosurgeon said, which is interesting, was we need to think of a mind as a fragile plant, and we need to nurture it and allow that capacity to grow. And I thought, all right, they're doing something outside conventional medicine.
Okay. As is the way a lot of the time, I seem to find myself more and more moving away from our mainstream understanding of, everything and the human body, very much so. I'm sure you're familiar with the works of Wim Hof, the Iceman, showing us, there's so many things that the body can do that we've just been told that are autonomic processes and, things that we don't understand because we only know what we're taught, Dr. Wong, as you know, and obviously I know you're from Malaysia. This is your heritage, and
yes.
But did you train here in the UK?
Yes. So I got some A-level results, and I didn't know what to do in my life, so I decided I'll do some medicine. Applied through UCAS and clearing, and applied to University of Sheffield. They said yes, and they started me on this path. It was a bit windy, but we got there in the end.
Okay, fantastic, interesting. And going back to the German lady, do you know how she kind of progressed after her second awakening or second birth? That is, isn't it? Second birth.
Yes, I think she felt her son was always by her side.
I was going to ask.
Something made her wake up and regain consciousness. So that was an unusual story in itself. I would like to find out what happened, and I'm sure everyone wants to know what therapy they used.
Yes, indeed, yeah, because. Gosh, 17 years. I don't suppose there are that many people who are kept in the coma state for that kind of amount of time. What was the reason they did keep her in the...
you see, in the Middle East, their culture is very different from ours.
I see.
And they have access to infinite amounts of funds, shall we say.
Yes,
and
indeed.
if you're related to part of the state, they can help fund you for a set amount of time.
Right.
And this lady would go to different hospitals to find the best therapies, and maybe the family might be influential. Who knows?
Yes.
In any regard, they went to different hospitals and ended up in Germany. So happens, and they managed to do the right thing, and they made the headlines. This was about a month ago. Yeah.
Oh, that recent. Okay.
You should look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I will for sure, and I'm sure the listeners will as well. How fascinating! How fascinating indeed.
And so it just proves to me. There's another anecdote. It's like I'm sure they did some tests in congenitally blind people, right?
Okay.
And that's right. And so they've never perceived or seen the real world. By giving them DMT, and they had an out of body experience, they could explain how they saw reality and heard reality around them, which to all intents and purposes suggests that we are in a field of information. The mind isn't necessarily the way we perceive it.
Yes, indeed. I can resonate with that strongly because I know of cases of people who I know personally who've been able to see with their eyes closed during the DMT experience.
Right.
Which again, you know, it flies in the face of understanding or common understanding or, you know, conventional understanding, I should say. So absolutely fascinating. Yes. It's, I was going to say, I know you're interested in all kind of different fields. Would you tell me a little bit, or tell the listeners and myself actually as well, a little bit more about your other kind of interest, which is a software development? Is that right?
So besides medicine, I help game companies produce what we call visual assets, particularly concept art. So before someone makes a movie or a game, they need their script storyboarded and visualized and assets produced. So
Right.
we help that through Opus Artz. It's a small outsourced company in London. We've been doing it for about 10 years. And we're working on hit titles like Mafia 3, Bioshock 2, Battlefield Hardline, God of War.
I'm
Those
sure
kind of things.
I don't play consoles myself. I'm sure many of the listeners will do. The last console I did have a Wii for a little while and an Xbox for a little while, and when I was in prison I had a PS2. But I was kind of because I was chatting about this the other day with regards to, how old are you, Dr. Wong, might I ask?
I will be 44 in October.
Oh, fantastic. So you're a little bit older than me. Then I'm 34, but I was kind of the transitional age with regards to console. But with you being that little bit older, the 10 years, you had the first consoles, I imagine, did you?
Yes, you know, starting from the floppy disk.
Indeed, yeah, 8-bit, right? Was it 8-bit to start?
And then onto the SNES, and then onto consoles.
Yeah,
and
I
PC
love the
games.
SNES, love the SNES. So on the back of that little thread, then, if I may, so you know, we've started with 8-bit technology. We're now talking, you know, your kind of GTA 5s on screens.
Yes.
And now we're also at the level of virtual reality. I put a little post on my Facebook yesterday, kind of questioning, you know, what we're actually being released into the mainstream. If that's what's being released into the mainstream, then good Lord knows what they've got with the military black projects and all that kind of jazz. So off the back of that, I've got another post on my Facebook feed, which is essentially paraphrasing Elon Musk when he talks about the fact, you know, with this constant progressive improvement with regards to technology, if we think from going from, you know, your 8-bit Paperboy, Battle Axe, Alex the Kid in the Miracle World, which is my ultimate favorite, we're now at the level of almost immersive technology. Now we're going to get to the level of kind of subdermal wetware, you know, nano kind of technology, and it's going to get to a point at some point in the future, if they haven't already, where there'll be PlayStations, Xboxes, whatever you like, that'll be immersive and indistinguishable from waking reality.
Sure.
And what's to say that we haven't already got to that point?
So part of this is you need to look back at the esoteric side and actually how much of this technology is already available, but they need to roll it out in a coherent timeline.
Yes.
To suggest that this is a natural progression.
Yes.
No doubt that human hands had the ingenuity to back engineer and develop this, sure.
Right.
But I suspect what happens is if you see something existing beforehand, human ingenuity will go, how can I recreate that? And that's all it requires. If it doesn't exist, we can make it real. So it's testament to human ingenuity.
It's funny you should say that, because a lot of people say, you know, a lot of stuff's back engineered from the spacecraft in Roswell, right? But based on what you've just said there, I have personally, through an NDE or out of body experience, experience leaving this reality and then coming back into it. And the reality that I was in when I was outside of this reality, which is the only way I can describe it, was more real than this one, as in it was high definition. And as this reality started coming back into focus around me, it was just so pixelated and low quality. I always use the expression like waking up into a dream, and it took a good few hours for it to kind of really become normal again, and then a good few days for me to actually, I'm not in a game. I am actually back in real life. But as I say, wherever I went, during that out of body experience, near death experience, seemed more real than this. So as you say, it only takes that experience of experiencing something, as I say, more real than this for the human mind to go, well, what, where can we go with this? What can we develop? And,
That's right.
what are your thoughts on that, Dr. Wong?
Well, so my thoughts are this reality is probably a very advanced dynamic simulation.
Yes.
Let's go with that.
I agree.
It reacts from whatever you think, because the way you think creates unmanifested forms, and that creates matter, kind of like a harmonic resonant kind of a reality. And it's always expanding. So I suspect physicists are trying to nail down the physics, which are evolving and changing all the time. So they never quite get it there.
Yeah. Always kind of chasing their tail end, basically, because as they're kind of locking it down, boom, it just, and it's funny that you say that, because I had a psychosis experience in 2017. I was sectioned, and there was something it's quite deep, and I won't get into it in too much depth, but essentially what happened was, before I was sectioned, I had a kind of shifting experience. It felt like shifting from the whole ground shifted. I discussed this the other day on a different podcast, but the whole ground shifted, and my memories washed over me. It wasn't like flashing before my eyes. It was if the way I describe it is, as we know, we're lucky if we live 100 years in this lifetime. So as a 33-year-old male, all I had as my experience with those full 33 years. That was the totality of my existence. But as those memories washed over me in a split second, and everything that I'd experienced went like in a split second, that 33 years, my perspective of that 33 years just went boom, as if I just watched a movie. Kind of, whether you want to look at that as the perspective shifting from upwards or outwards, I'm not too sure. But it resonates with me there, what you're describing. As I said, it felt as if that I'd, and this is not any like egotistical, conceited perspective, but that I'd learned so much and gathered so much knowledge that I was about to break the system, and I had to be shifted into another. I was about to, like, I don't know, break the simulator or whatever. I don't know how you want to describe it. And as a result,
I call it game servers. Like, this is the game server.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. Let's say this is the ultimate reality show in this current universe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
People from miles and light years around used to come here.
Yeah.
And the producer, we call it demigod, is given a lovely choice. It says, I only need 1/3 dark. You can have 2/3 light. The rule of the game is no one wins, but you're here to have fun. Like Team A versus Team B, red versus blue, Red Sox versus, and so
indeed.
forth. And so the reality would be, they would tell you, all right, this is the best possible outcome you'd have for this TV series. So here's a hang. I'm going to tell you how to be the hero or heroine of your own reality TV show. And that this is my supposition. But when you start this character, you're going to forget everything you know now, because that's the only way for it to be as real and immersive as you can be. Yes. And as your character progresses, if you take the right pathway I told you about, you get certain unlocks, key marker points. You can go back to it, but, it's kind of like playing a character again. And so how far can you get? Could you be the 1 in a million? Could you be ready player one?
1 in a million, baby.
Exactly.
Well, again, everything you said there resonates 100% with me. And, people like you and I, Dr. Wong, and again, this is not an ego-based thought that I'm giving it. I personally, I speak for myself, I've always liked to be at the cutting edge of everyone else's research and learning. And I know for you now, tell the listeners, if you would, please, a little bit more about how you now kind of, as you described it to me yourself, are in your own kind of personal echo chamber and trying to kind of step away from all, as you say, conventional understanding, everything we've been taught. So, for example, there was another, and again, I don't like to repeat myself, but there's another post I put up a few weeks ago about all these different things within history, these mysteries and whatnot. Are you familiar with Rick and Morty? I'm sure you're familiar with Rick and Morty. Yeah. The plumbus. And they were saying, is relativity a plumbus just to suck in all the best minds through the schools, through the universities, and suck all these great minds into this false nonsense, basically, which, as you say, are the physicists are at the cutting edge of, these quantum physicists who are the greatest minds of our time, but they've been sucked into this basically nonsense, which is, you're never going to be able to solve it. Instead of, as Buckminster Fuller puts it, turning all the weaponry to livingry, if we did that overnight, this would just be a utopia. But going back, tell us, if you will, what you're kind of doing now with your own personal echo chamber and how you kind of
I can go back a few years. So maybe
Right.
a few years ago, I was having a fascination with geopolitics. I was trying to train myself as an intelligence analyst, because looking at intensive care, we look at many different points of data, but they may not all be related. But we need to put together a picture of a diagnosis and treatment and then go with it. So I was looking at geopolitics, and I was saying, a lot of what's reported in the news may not necessarily reflect true state of nature. Oftentimes it's a distraction. In fact, I wrote a post about Brexit 2 years ago, which I thought was not predictive because Boris Johnson didn't become a prime minister. I just realized I was 2 years out.
There we go. See?
And then yesterday they prorogued and go, all right, this prediction was correct. And this is what I think is going to happen. And I decided to apply it to real life in terms of how could I make things a better place for other people. And so that required a lot of inner journeys and trying to figure out if what we were being thought about medicine or ancient forms of healing, could we integrate those aspects? Could there be an East and West kind of aspects? And then I had all these theories and research, but I couldn't really experience it. And so I did kind of make a small wish. Could I experience that? And the universe very kindly says, boom, yes, we will provide you with all of this, but you need to just exercise all your past 40 years of experience so you can receive anew.
Okay.
So kind of like a life review over the past 8 months.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that's very interesting indeed. As you know, going back to, we're kind of, it's difficult, as you say, to progress. You kind of have to unlearn a lot of the stuff that you've learned.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I'm at now, and it's peeling away of all those kind of layers that were painted on every year of your development through the indoctrination system, which we call the lovely schooling system, all this different stuff. And, we've been discussing language quite a lot recently, and the fact, and you'll be able to relate to this, I'm sure, with your heritage of Malaysian family, that English, being the language of commerce, is only designed basically for maritime admiralty, business, law, and basically the shenanigans of the Phoenicians and everything that's going on. So what we find then is that from a lot of cultures around the world, a lot of their concepts do not translate into the English language.
Yes.
Simultaneously, they're trying to put the English language all across the globe. We call it the globe, just for argument's sake, the plane, the planet, whatever you want to call it. So what we can see here is this kind of conscious plan of degrading communications. And I'm just going to flick and see if I can have a quick look a second. Yeah,
yes.
I've got a fella who I follow, fantastic, very interesting fella, by the name of, I think it's Corey David Barker. And he's putting something together called the Architectonic of Simulation, which is essentially just restructuring everything, bringing all our different understandings of all our different fields of knowledge and wisdom, bringing them all together and just, and as my friend Rog puts it, everything on the table. Let's just get it all out on the table, good, bad, light, dark.
Excellent.
Let's just see where we're at. And I'm going to hopefully speak with Corey soon and have him to come and do a conversation and explain to me, because it's for his PhD, he's doing all this stuff. And it's very deep and very complex, but it's fascinating, really fascinating.
Yes.
So yeah, that's where we're kind of at the moment. We're kind of having to unlearn everything we've been taught. And as you say, this inner exploration, and as you already know from my own personal journey, I'm looking to, in time, set up this flotation and discovery center, which is the sensory deprivation therapy. And again, we're kind of moving away from this 5 sense reality that we're immersed in 24/7, and they just try and immerse us as much as possible with all this technology. As you say, sometimes I think it's all about that going inwards, and then whether you want to call that, accessing the Akashic records and all the other descriptions for the same essential process, there's more to all this, right? There's a lot more to it all, and you can easily just become immersed in the game as it is, or you can try and create your own game. And I think that's where we're kind of at now.
So we need to look at it in two lights. Could you see this as a brute force technology approach to go inwards because people are not able to do the homework to actually just look within? Reality is you don't need ayahuasca, you don't need DMT, because you need to get past that third eye, right?
Yeah.
So you use those tools to get you through, but you could also just think yourself there. But it's very hard because you're so indoctrinated with what reality is.
Yes.
It's almost impossible, really. But you need to normally go through a personal traumatic life experience or some event that makes you, to all intents and purposes, be rebirthed with new eyes. Then this is what they call a living resurrection practices.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And this is things I'm reading about as well. You know, excuse me. So yeah, this is a lovely thread. I like it. So, with regards to when you say about brute force, do you consider the flotation to be a kind of a lower level of brute force, then, if you like, rather than, you know, your ayahuascas and your DMTs, of which I've experienced DMT multiple times. I'm looking to go to Peru, possibly the end of the year, to do some plant medicine. But I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of, I follow a fella called Todd Akamesis. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's based up in London. He runs something called the Pandora Spa, which is the brain entrainment technology we've discussed.
Right.
And you had the wonderful insight, and I thank you again for that, of the, I was saying, how do I get the brain entrainment-like technology within the Faraday cage element of the tank? Because obviously it's no good building a Faraday cage around the tank to exclude any electromagnetic interference if you're going to put brain entrainment light in it. It kind of defeats the purpose. But with the fiber optics, that might overcome that obstacle. But
Lucia have a new prototype.
I saw.
Right? You don't need fiber optics. They just beam it to you.
Oh, no, actually, no, forgive me. I know I've not seen this one. I'll have to look into that. I thought you just meant the mini light.
Oh, yeah. It's a new Traveler mini light.
Oh, you've cut off.
Just beam it to you.
Oh, fascinating. I want to check that out.
Yes.
And this is it. And this is it. We're so industrious and innovative, but what it seems to be in this society, any kind of the first sign of any intelligence or any, you know, creativity is just funneled and filtered into these different, you know, we won't call them negative, we'll just different fields then. You know, weaponry and technology, which always inevitably gets turned towards weaponry. And, you know, how do you see the gaming technology being within the heart of it? How do you see it with regards to what's been released to us thus far and what is probably, you know, we're looking at Black Mirrors and the kind of, you know, they're putting that little thing on the side of their head. It's been on most of the episodes, and the Black Mirror episode of the USS, I forget the name of it. You've seen it, I'm sure of you.
Yes.
Fascinating, brilliant episode. It's probably my favorite one. But the more recent ones with regards to, you know, the Miley Cyrus consciousness being transferred into technology. And I sent you the link earlier for the 2025 Soul Catcher technology, you know, BT. This 1996, they were talking about that. That was a long time ago. So, you know, where are we at, Dr. Wong, with all this stuff? What do you think?
Well, you see, if you, let's say, go back to ancient esoteric practices, you have the idea now of Mer, Ka, and Ba, which just shows, can you transfer Ka and Ba, which is consciousness or the soul, from one body to another? So with the mummification process, did they seek to go inside and live forever? You see, the world, you know, when you look at the reality, where are all the other people? They must be existing in the same plane of existence as us, but we can't see it. Are they existing in the quantum realm instead of out there in the physical 3D form that we have here? See what I mean? And so this all these spiritual practices to live in these higher states, but what they see higher is probably quantum, as above, below. So Ant-Man technology is actually where we're going. Right. And that's why they put it in the Easter eggs on Marvel. See, Marvel is now included in the esoteric practices. They're seeding productive programming there. Now, if you go back and look at it with those lenses, you go, oh, makes sense. This is where they want you to go. So with your questions about gaming, yes, I suspect we're trying to roll out the more brute force technology, but we need to try it through entertainment or entrainment programs. So don't make no games can be really fun, and it's a great way to explore things. It's like a sword, two-edged. You know, which way do you want it to use? You just need the right willpower and amount of people to go there. You don't need more money. You just need suddenly everyone goes, wow, this is great. I love this, you see? Suddenly some games are so transformative, you know, like if you play Journey, you know, you go, wow, this was a great experience. So it's just finding the right folks to get together at the right time, and magic happens.
This is it. This is it. Yeah, no, it seems to be, as the reality that's around us, we seem to be coming to a crossroads. I feel like things are coming to a head, as they say, and those who, the powers that think they be, we're well aware of how the system is set up and what they've got in place, and all they want is for us to kick off, essentially, push us like Hong Kong is right now, this very minute.
Yes.
Millions of people out on the street. That's what they want. They want us out on the street so they can, unfortunately, kill a good load of us, round the rest of us up, and then start the next extreme level indoctrination. And I think so. I feel as if going out on the streets and rioting, and that's definitely not the answer. So, where do we find the answers? Are we able to, just quickly, if I may, are we able to? I've been reading the Ringing Cedar series by Anastasia, and she talks about something, I forget the name of it, but it's to do with, for example, I found a patent the other day for basically wormhole transporter technology. Now, the thing is, like, Serco own the patent office, and so you think anything that goes in there, I'm not 100% sure how the patent office works. Does it have to be proven to be a workable prototype to be able to be patented? Is that I thought so, yeah. So you see something like that and you think, hang on a minute, an actual wormhole generator that can transport a human being from one place to the other. Now, are we able to transport ourselves away from this? This is someone else's reality, right? We've all been brought into someone else's. This is kind of, I don't know, I'm getting into kind of your inception stuff here. What are your thoughts, Dr. Wong, what I've just said there? Is it resonating at all?
So my interpretation of reality is it is all a simulation, or what we call, when they say illusion, it is a consensual illusion. So you and I, although we can see one another, we don't have to be in the same spot because all points in space and time are connected.
Yes.
It's just a linear walking still required for the experience, but it's a consensual Venn diagram, okay? And so where we agree, this seems to be reality, but our mind is already in the past. We're a few nanoseconds behind. It's being streamed live as if it's a real-time thing, but it's happened. This allows forces to influence it and edit it, and your mind to edit things. Even when you look at something, it's not really seeing stuff in 3D. It's going scan, 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 and the rest of the images are just made up. It literally is made up.
I see. Yeah. So it's a difficult one. Like we don't know the answers. This is what we strive for. Like you say, we don't know where we came from. We don't know where we are, although we are getting a little bit more of an understanding of where we are. And my next question leads into what's commonly understood to be the astral plane, or the lower fourth, and all this kind of stuff. Now, I've read one comment which was to do with Black Project's research, where they were taking people in, the men who stare at goats, all that type of stuff, and this fella was obviously very easily able to get out of body and go into the astral plane, and obviously he was exploring it, mapping the terrain, all that kind of stuff, and he found the outer limits, or the outer edge of the astral plane, and said, "Oh, I seem to hit an edge." And when he came back and reported to his superior, said, "Oh yeah, other people have reported the same thing. We think that's where the simulation is being projected from." So bearing in mind, most people don't even know what the astral plane is, and I don't know a great deal about it myself, I must admit, but I do know a little bit about it. So if we've got, some of us are exploring this 3D reality, then there's this next level of the astral reality, which is, I think, where we go when we're dreaming. I think that's where we go, or that seems to be the understanding. And there's also an outer edge to that. Now, if when you die, consciousness is just transfers to another place, when I had my out of body experience, I was just I was in a black void, and it was just absolutely terrifying. There was no concept of up or down, there was no horizon, and I was put back by a being. And I remember this kind of feeling of him laughing and being of that, "You're not ready for this yet, go on, back you go," kind of thing. I'd accidentally found myself, and he was like, "Yeah," I was afraid. It was a very unpleasant experience. Call it the void. But I wonder, is it when you do, because as I say, consider it a near-death experience. So had I actually died, and gone there, was that then my opportunity to create my own reality and my own from scratch? As they say, you know, you have to think things into reality. Nothing was an object before it was a thought, all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So do you have any thoughts on, you know, what happens when
I'm
we
not
die?
sure. Short of having a personal experience myself, I wouldn't be able to say confidently. I mean,
No.
I've read all the same literature,
Yes.
but I like your idea that maybe this space, I call it a potential space, because no thing is actually a rich, unmanifested potential. So you just need to
Yeah.
think and dream your reality, because we're all manifest beings. We are magical beings. We create consciously and unconsciously. We just
Yes.
been trained to not think that this is so. And so when you die, potentially you go into this potential space, it's space that doesn't exist between different illusory realities. So it's like a transition, it's like a bus stop, you know? It's like, okay, it's not really a nice bus stop, but it's a potential. You can hold just yourself and maybe a few of you, and then you wait to go to the next train stop or next waypoint. So this is like two game servers, and imagine the astral is in between. It's a potential space, you see? It
Right.
doesn't really exist. It's infinite and timeless.
Because apparently they've got that locked down, the powers that be, military technology and military technology that keeps people astral, and they've got all that locked down.
Right.
That's an intriguing prospect to think, oh, not only do they have this realm almost locked down, they also have that realm locked down, so to speak, as well. So I feel like we're very much behind the curve
Sure.
as individuals on the ground level, you know, even though we're striving to kind of be at the cutting edge, and we're throwing little crumbs of information here and there, and we find little seeds. But what I'd like to go on to next is, forgive me, the very fascinating topic that you introduced me to of egregores.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about egregores, please, and your understanding
Sure.
of it? Because I've not read the book
Uh,
yet. It's on my list, but I need to get
okay.
to it. But
I'll give you my interpretation. So if we are beings that generate the electromagnetic field,
mm,
then we also have we maybe have this idea of creating mind forms. All right, a mind form can be called a tulpa in Tibetan times. And so when you come together in a like-minded group, let's say 2 or 3 people, you form a communion. And if you get along really well, you form a spirit, a group spirit, or mind form, and we call that egregore or gregory. And now you multiply that to, let's say, 100, to 1,000, to, let's say, a corporation. Let's say Coca-Cola.
yeah,
So the Coca-Cola, when in ethos, will have a certain kind of mindset and a group set. To all intents and purposes, it forms a kind of energetic, unseen kind of group spirit. Okay, the Coca-Cola
yeah,
spirit.
yeah, that makes
Now, let's
sense.
say you do it for Britain. Britain will have a national spirit, a Brexit spirit at the moment. Now, if you take it on the religious kind of fervor, let's say you got the traditional pan-Abrahamic churches, whether it's real or not, the cumulative belief of all the people and devout believing that, let's say there's Jesus, to all intents and purposes, a energetic being called Jesus with all the traits that they desire comes into existence. And this is probably how we manifest new beings and new forms that maybe interact with our frame of reality, or they don't. You just don't realize it.
Right, that makes sense. So, do you think then, when people talk of things like ascended masters, which are experienced out of body, within the astral, or within through dreams, all that kind of stuff, do you think that's the same kind of thing as an egregore, possibly,
So
or
I feel there are different levels and hierarchies of egregores. So you
right?
got mind forms, and then you got divinities. It doesn't matter how they came to being, to all intents and purposes, they inherit all those traits and have all those powers. Are they true? Are they false? They're really real. They, to all intents and purposes, they have that capability. They are like primordial forces. And so, you know, everyone has this high apex predator. We are just like really down there.
Yeah, yeah, the minions, if you will. I like
I
that.
mean, we have capability. We are all part of that ecosystem. You know, it's a giant ecosystem. It's a circuit. So we are necessary to help manifest the lower forms. The lower forms help manifest the higher forms. The higher forms manifest. See, so they're all responsible for one another.
Right.
The higher forms require our belief,
Yes.
and and so forth. They help nurture us, we help nurture them. So we're actually all working on this together. In fact, having what you call good and evil is necessary, because if you think of it as light and dark, positive and negative, it's what you need to make a electrical current. See, people need to play a certain play, A and B. So what you've been seeing over the past few hundred years is probably a no-win scenario, or one win, one lose. So somebody has to win so hard. Now, what if we're changing to what I call a service-based approach where everybody wins? There's a bit of something for everybody. I think that's just what this transition will be about. And we're going to develop spiritual esoteric technology. That's the next scientific quantum. We call it quantum, but it's probably esoteric spiritual technology.
Yes, I've seen a lot of well, I say a lot of different bits and bobs coming out now about what they don't want you to know about quantum mechanics and all this kind of stuff, which leads on nicely, I think, what you say about this this next phase that we are hopefully transitioning into. With regards, then, let's talk a little bit about the transmutation and that fantastic fellow you put up. Is it James Sorensen?
That's right.
There's not very much about him online. You Google that fella. There's not much about him. Tell us a bit about James and his work, if you would.
I think so. There's James and there's Eden. Okay, together they're looking at the structured atomic model. They have looked at they're looking at reality, and they're looking at what's the most efficient way to structure the atom. And they seem to figure out, after much contemplation, that atoms self-organize. And to make the elements, how do the elements come to be? And they realize elements transmute from one to another. So something is just missing in between to make one element A to one element B. And they looked at lightning and how the processes work, and they realized, oh, this is how amino acids and proteins can come to be. And basically, you can see this in the chicken and the egg, right? Real or joke, which came first? So for chickens to generate eggs, what do you think naturally is required? People think it's calcium, because the eggshell is calcium. So they remove calcium from the chicken's diet, and the chicken still laid eggs indefinitely. Now, when they deprived it of potassium, which is common salt, they found out that chickens couldn't lay any eggs. And the chickens would go and peck in the ground to look for mica, silicon. What probably seems to be happening is the chickens are transmuting silicon as a base catalyst into calcium via potassium. See? Because you don't get something for nothing. It's a law of equivalence. Yeah. And this is actually the philosopher's goal, the premise of the elixir of generating base lead to gold. What that is, the metaphor of human to being what you call transhuman, or a rainbow light body human, or an ascended person in real life. So all of this comes to be, and you can't get from one point to another without learning the knowledge and discipline required to transmute. And so actually these transmutations are probably what we call cold fusion, biological nuclear fission. And if this is happening with chickens and eggs, most likely it's happening with human sperm and other processes. And when there's a lightning storm, this is how you generate new elements. Probably gold and diamond are not really rare. It's just you don't see it, or it's very hard to get, and so forth.
Yeah, that was it was very interesting, because the implications were from the post, and what they were saying was about breatharianism, which, from reading the Holographic Universe, fantastic book. I think it's Michael Talbot. Very much worth a read. As an introduction into a few different fields, and they take you've got the two elements of this thread. Is you've got the one fellow who can manifest from nothing. I think his name is Sai Baba. And you just think, right, yeah, okay. But, it's just being documented and stuff. They followed it. And if you want to keep an open mind, you think, well, and then the breatharianism, where they've taken people who just don't take in any sustenance, any food, any water, but yet the human meat suit, as I call it, but, the biological spacesuit continues to just persist. And they took the one fella into hospital and monitored him over 2 weeks, and nothing came in and nothing went out. And they were like, well, how long are we going to go on with this then? So, the implications there are that, all these different elements and techniques that have been used against us to keep us, down and not able to, as you say, ascend into. Because when you say transhuman, some people might think, as what popped into my mind, is the thread that they're trying to take, or the path that they're trying to take us down now, is this transhumanistic path where we will be implanting and exchanging organic organs for nanotechnology organs until essentially the whole body is a nanotech.
Yes.
And once you get to that level, there'll be no ability for the consciousness to progress anywhere else. So you've got kind of two paths. You either go down the technological route or the original biological route. You know, you have a seed. You can put a seed into a ground, and within a few years, you have a ginormous tree.
Yes.
So or do we, it's all this other brute force stuff with fire and chemicals and all the rest of it. It's very, very dichotomous thread of like.
Well, it's like GMO seeds. The nanotechnology can see as GMO seeds. Like, oh, you need to buy our licensing products. We won't let you grow trees. Just buy this and it will get your crop. Yeah. Because, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it was basically like they've developed, with all this chemtrail stuff, they've developed through GMO the plants that can survive with these conditions and these different soil conditions because of all the particulates and the metals. It's going to get to a point. I know they've got supposedly there's a seed bank right up in the mountains in
South or something. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. So as you were saying about Silicon Valley, what are they up to over there? They're trying to shortcut the path, right? As you say about developing this rainbow body and all the rest of it.
You could see it two ways. Maybe they looked into the esoteric aspects and misinterpreted or interpreted the way they want and realized, hey, with technology, maybe we can make the second coming. We can do it this way. Or is it instructions from a not so friendly source to go, they've opened the door to XYZ. We will offer them technology, but reality is we're going to make this reality our future reality for whatever beings are giving these instructions. And you can go back to John Dee for that, where originally John Dee is the original MI5 right-hand man for the Queen, and he supposedly talked to some angels, not angels, but who knows what entities or people they were talking to.
Angels, right?
Yes, it's just a nice way to label it because no one's going to complain. Oh, it's angels. It's great.
Yeah.
So yes. And, was it the original, this is where all the technology or non-human technology is coming in. Just like if you look at mushrooms and stuff, it's probably not natural to us. It's maybe transdimensional. It goes across different dimensions. So it's like a tree root. And if you eat a little bit of the mushroom, you can have access to the whole mushroom network.
Yes, because I've listened to John Stamets. Kind of, is it John Stamets or David?
Yeah. Well, Stamets. Yes,
Stamets with Joe Rogan, and the interesting thing I liked about what he was saying was the fact that the mushrooms have been here the whole time since, let's just, for argument's sake, say since the beginning there have been 7 cataclysms, and humans have only been here since like the last 1 or 2 major ones. They've been here since the very beginning. Yes. And it always seems to be that these ancient civilizations, the Mayans and whatnot, they're all flat out taking mushrooms, but they're also flat out the old human sacrifice. And you only have to watch like Apocalypto and all this. And I understand, they are just Hollywood films, but they are based in kind of the literature and the ancient kind of findings that we have. What I wonder is, some people talk about this soul trap business and the need to escape. This is a prison, and the need, we need to get out on the whole reincarnation business. Now, from my own personal perspective, I have these vague memories of kind of getting out and wanting to jump straight back in, getting out and being like, like, do you want to go again? Like, damn right, get me back in there.
Exactly.
This might just be dreams. I'm not too sure. I know it sounds a bit off the cuff, but I'm not sure where I stand on this whole stuff. Where am I escaping to? Do I want to get from here, or do I want to stay here? And I don't want to leave here and leave everyone else behind. So I'm a bit lost, to be honest, I must say, in my thoughts and my feelings of, I'm like, well, so this is what I've come to through a few different threads, is that we seem to be in a simulation where the consciousness is recycled and also reset every single time. This, they call it the amnesia of the species and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Do you feel that in this lifetime, when this lifetime comes to an end, that you would wish to leave where we are now and go somewhere, get all the memories back? Right, okay, and then that was fun.
Well,
I'm going home now. Wherever.
Maybe you don't need to know. Maybe maybe we are the product and we are recycled as a product. Okay, that's all right. Let's say it's part of the whole larger ecosystem, right? It's not just about us, right? It's about everyone. So
Yeah.
It's okay to be recycled and reused. I think this is coming from the I, like, I need to have my experience unique and verified. But what if the only end result of the product is they want you to have as many good experiences as you can, and that's the harvest, and then you get recycled? Sure. And if you did such a great job here, would they let you do a great job elsewhere? Promoted. All right, you're promoted to line manager. Okay, you did well. Okay, you show the right mixture of stuff. I think you are due for promotion. Surely that's the hidden desire.
Yes, that resonates for sure. For sure. I thought popped in there and it's gone again now. But yeah, this is all kind of this is the stuff that I think about too much, Whereas most people can distract themselves away from it. These are the things that my head are stuck in far, far too often. And yeah, I like what you said there about kind of that progression, and because this is, I'll give you another thought that came to me. It's like before my experience, it was always the thing of I came from somewhere, I'm somewhere now experiencing reality, and I will go somewhere else. And since my shift and since coming back, I'm now discovering this whole stuff about, as I just explained, the artificial. So what if now? So from birth to 33, the understanding was, well, upon death, I used to think as a younger person, you just go back to the ground and it's nothing. And then you start, like, after my out-of-body experience, I realized, there is something more. There is somewhere else. But coming back now, I seem to be finding all this stuff that, like, we're going to be immortal, this realm. And it does seem that if this body, to a point, as I said, if they start changing it and fixing it up, and to a point where, yes, it is essentially immortal, we're getting into the realms then of altered carbon. Are you familiar with Altered Carbon? Have you watched that?
No, I mean, I see what you mean from the Netflix series. I would just say one thing. They've managed to find the holy grail of fusing silicon and carbon finally through looking at an enzyme in a geyser. So I think that's the transhumanist holy grail. But the reality is because we're just not accepting what our role is in the greater scheme of things. Again, it goes back to the I. Once you accept that we all have a certain role to play here, then we can work in concert with all the other forces to do what can be good. And I think then things will just happen like miracles in our everyday life. See, we're here probably for like a nursery. It's not so much of being recycled. It's like obviously here to learn and get certain experience, and that's the end product. And can we do this without a certain amount of guidance? Well, you get help, but it's unconscious. Can you do X, Y, Z work and transcend without having to rely on brute force technology? But maybe the people in Silicon Valley did not really understand this. They go, well, I got technology, can't I just use this to ram the gate open? Well, the gate has certain morals and certain key codes, it's just not going to get through. So I suspect DMT and all this stuff, it gives you a tiny glimpse of it, but you should really just do the hardcore homework. It doesn't require anything else, just experience. Most people don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I don't want to do it. I'm lazy. This is the problem, Dr. Wong. Unfortunately, I'll openly admit that for the world. I am lazy as hell. So yeah, this is where I come back to, I'll go to Peru and do the plant medicine. That'll be the answer, and that'll fix me. But then I'm starting to find now a lot of stuff, and I'll just say it as I feel it, stuff that's not resonating with me. And, these people are all seeming to be locked into this multi-dimensional 5D and these beings from these different dimensions. I'm just thinking, are they just extra levels of kind of control and the trap, if you want to put it like that? So yes. I don't know. I have to say, I don't know where it sits with me.
So my own personal experience is the magic happens on the mundane, everyday level. You're making your coffee, meeting people. What you don't realize, they all have a hidden subquest. And once you access that, the mundane becomes a full-on game level where all sorts of interesting things happen. You have to see that interaction with everyone you have as a kind of learning experience to give, receive, and transcend. That's the software is there, the algorithm's there. It's just people don't realize it. Think, oh, I need to go somewhere exotic. Sure, if you want to experience something different, but you can really do it everyday life.
Yeah, for sure, and I can resonate with that from number one this morning, because I've decided off the back of doing an episode podcast with Sean Atwood, which was the true crime series, and he encouraged me. He said, you should do your own. And I thought, yeah, I've been toying with the idea for a while, and I know so many interesting people. I thought, well, it won't hurt to just put a few videos together and just put some stuff out there. And it's just my own views, my own quest for my own truth, my own understanding. And as I said, as you said, every single piece of the puzzle, I always now strive to give everyone the same, the CEO is no better than the janitor.
That's right.
That philosophy of life, and every single person has the piece of the puzzle. It's like So this morning I just kind of going back. Sorry, I'm jumping around a bit, but with this podcast now, it seems to be taking off quite nicely. I've done kind of 7. Well, I've got 7. You're number 6, 7 lined up for this afternoon, and got a few more very interesting ones to the partner. My partner's like, stay grounded, because she knows where I'm like I get manic and I run off with things absolutely before stood throwing full fields and trees, shoes and socks off, just grounding, just connecting, walking around, and stuff as well. Don't just run off into the madness. But after my shifting experience, what I was experiencing, and they kept me locked in solitary confinement for about 2 months, and I was, psychotically delusional, if you want to put it like that. What I was having was precognition, having thoughts. They had to take the TV away. They say the TV was talking to me, and I heard when I was locked up before. I'll just wait for this trolley to pass because I'm in the library using the facilities. Excuse me. What was I saying? Oh yeah. The TV. I remember before when I was in HMP Park, they brought this fella on the wing, and everyone was taking the piss out of him, saying, "Oh, he thinks the TV talks to him and all this stuff." And I thought, "Well, that's a bit strange. The TV talks to everyone, but like, is it actually talking to you?" But my TV was actually talking to me in the sense of they were only normal adverts and films, but I was having thoughts, and it was interacting in real time. Very, very bizarre experience. I didn't find it frightening. I found it fascinating, and it was just like, what is going on? And I think, I just think, oh, I haven't had a letter today. I wonder if my partner sent me a letter. Boom, flap opens. Iris 2 letters. Doom, under the door. I'm like, okay, that as an isolated experience on its own. You go, a little bit of a coincidence, but they were just unending, one after the other, after the other, after the other, to the point where I'm like, what has happened? Have I literally broken my universe? Because can you live like this? But I think that is how it's meant to be. That's how it was always meant to be.
Yeah.
And you think, you think of a bird, and a bird lands on the window.
Yeah, it's dynamic.
Flaps its wings, and you go, oh, okay, lovely. Thank you, universe. More please, it's hard to take. But like, yeah, it resonates with what you were saying there. It's all like within the mundane. So, what do you do? What do you do? It's all this for me personally, striving. And actually, I think sometimes you just need to stop and take a breath and just be. And perhaps things will reveal themselves for what they are. I'm not sure. I don't know. But
I don't know. I think being is really great. When you realize now the hidden rules that there's, the universe likes to play with you, be dynamic, respond to everything you wish and think, to literally manifest things. You go, oh, that's how it works. All right. And then just get on with your life. And now you can manifest what you want for your personal experience, because it's a personalized experience. What I'm talking to you now is just a meeting point.
Yeah.
We all have a personal experience.
Yes, 100%. How do you feel about we chatted about it briefly previously, the The path of the hermit.
Hmm.
Remember we discussed it, and about the, is
So,
this, go on.
my interpretation of the hermit is you have a certain kind of skill set, you get initiated, you train yourself, and traditionally a hermit is like the path of the Fisher Kings. You go to different villages to restart civilization. So you see what the people need, educate them, fix what you need to give them: astronomy, agriculture, teach them certain kind of forms of things, heal the sick, and move on. If they need moralistic codes, you teach them some religion so they can live their better lives, not to follow some sort of didactic rule. And so the hermit will just go on from one place to another without asking for any actual payment or credit, so they can discipline obscurity. So you don't become the god that people worship, you see. So that's how you can build people's better civilizations and life.
Okay, I like that. I've not heard it put that kind of way before, but that makes sense to me. I
Yeah,
think
some people feel the need to go off to some obscure place to isolate themselves to find the bad truth. Sure, you could do that in your bedroom too.
yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's interpreting things, and say sometimes you misinterpret, but also there can be multiple interpretations of the same thing that provide the same thing. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, thinking about then, if do you think that we've come too far? Do you think that are we going to be able to change this reality that we're in now, or do we need to kind of shift into another one? Because it seems to be that the control element that's in place, that if it gets to a certain point, it just goes, nah, no more. No, I don't know whether you want to, whether that's going to be. When I talk about cataclysms and things like that, these events that just someone's described it there, Mark Thompson from the AV9 video on YouTube, which is fantastic little watch, very interesting stuff. So whenever humanity gets too big for its boots, boom, they just get wiped out and down to minimal numbers and start again. Are you familiar with Michael Denny, the Thunder Wizard?
No, I'm not.
He's a fascinating character. I've watched him in conversation with Seth Exposer, and the one thing he talks about which is interesting was about the monks who sit in these rooms, and the apprentice will have to go in every couple of weeks and dust them off and dust the insects off them and stuff, because they're just there, and then eventually they'll go in and there'll just be a pile of clothes and they'll be gone. Like, is that what we have to strive for individually, to kind of go somewhere else? Or oh,
I suspect we don't have to do so. In the previous era, probably we had to go independently to find out the truth and that independently. I suspect what's going to happen is we're going to go what we call the win-win situation, where we can collaborate together to go to a service-based economy and service-based service. Is what I feel is going forward. So you see, this idea of cataclysm is what we call fear porn, and then
yes,
saving
yes,
scenario or Messiah is a hope porn.
yes,
We don't need this cycle of fear, hope, fear, hope. We can
yes.
go, yeah, we don't need that now. Let's try our new path.
Do you think that? Do you think of it as growing out of that kind of paradigm? That
I think there is a general groundswell of wanting something slightly different. So I think if enough people, maybe like 30% want something different, we can manifest that. And
that's
then
enough. That's the critical mass of yeah.
probably 21 is probably what you need, but if you get to 51, it'd be really great. But 21 is a good start.
Right, that makes sense. That makes sense, because I listened to a fantastic podcast with Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and he was talking about the different levels, and some of our humans are right up in these top levels. And when different threads come together, and Michael Denny was talking about there are humans who have evolved to the next level, and they're on the from these different levels. If you want to talk about some of the ones that are on the next level, they're on the boundary of being able to go to their next level, but because we're so far behind where we need to be, they're kind of trying to help us along, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. They have to be sharpest, because part of the hidden rule set is part of the work is to help others. You could go off and be selfish.
Yes.
Or you could actually make sure everyone comes up to your level so you can go together.
Yeah, this comes back to then service to self and service to others. We've got a lovely little group here in Swindon, the Rabbit Hole and the Mind Body Spirit group. Yeah, the Rabbit Hole's great, and they got the Mind Body Spirit group as well. But something that evolved out of that, and this things are happening a lot slower than we'd like, but it's only because we're all stuck in our own individual kind of rat races, if you like, but we all come together twice a month and we chat, and we have got plans, and I've got a good, beautiful friend, Mandy Parsons, and looking to get our own bit of land and kind of come together and just start afresh. And this, what we look at then is they call it the COMBS, COMBS, Community Mutual Benefit Society. And everyone just brings whatever they can bring to the table. And if someone feels like they don't have something to bring to the party, then that inspires you then to do something, to become something, to learn something, or have that unique trade or craft or skill. And this is our self potential, isn't it, of self-actualizing, of we've all got something. People think, I was talking about this the other day, I'll just mention it again, about this whole concept of maths, for example. Like in Britain, it's like you're either good at maths or you're not, and if you're not, then you stay in the bottom sets, and that's that, and you'll never be good at maths. But I think in China, they've got a whole different approach, and it's like, well, you don't quite get it yet? All right, we'll put you in this class, you do it a different way, but everyone has to get to the same proficiency level before, and that's the understanding. Oh, well, it's not that you can't do it, you just don't understand it this way. Let's teach you a different way, or a different way, or a different way. So, yeah, I like what you're saying there, because I do get it, the fear porn. And I've been that person, kind of, oh, shit, this, that, and the other. And I try and kind of come away from that now. But at the same time, also, I do feel like, excuse me, you do need to have an awareness of what is going on. But at the same time, that's them. That's others doing that. So as long as I know what's going on, as long as I only focus on what my vision is of what I want, and as long as it's not all about me, but it's also about, like, when I say what I want, I mean, like, not as a service to self at the expense of others, but like I said, I want to build a flotation center and the discovery center so that I can do my floating and develop myself and heal myself. But at the same time, it's going to provide the same facility for everyone else as well.
Right. So that's fantastic. For example, let's take yesterday's news of Brexit and proroguing. It's like, okay, most people going, oh my God. It's like, okay. But I still want to go and do my work.
Yeah.
I don't think it changes things.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's just distractions. It's low-level distractions.
That's
it. Important to know.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I tell you what, I think it'll be nice. We'll round it off for there, Dr. Wong.
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I won't take too much of your time, because I know you're a very, very busy man, but thank you very much for chatting with me this morning.
It's an honor. Yes.
An honor for me too as well, I must say so. And well, hopefully we'll get back and chat to each other again soon, and we can continue this thread.
That's fantastic. Really nice to meet you too.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day. Take care, and we'll chat again. All the best, brother.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.